Hello out there.
We're on the air.
It's Rink Moose Talk tonight. The beers are cold.
The mics light up.
And the boys get set to fight. The gloves come off.
Opinions get thrown.
And someone slips on ice. One man howls.
The other scowls.
But the show must go on. Oh, the good old hockey game is the best game you can name. And the best game you can name is the good old hockey game.
You're an announcer with a long stick from time to time.
With hockey flows
and more shots known.
Pierre Maguire's life, not John's a leaf.
Ovechkin's teeth
and Hoffman's crazy wife. When Carey slumps
and Bergevin stomps,
Duran's not LaFontaine. Jokes aside,
it's podcast time,
and Rink Moose is the name.
Oh, the good old hockey game is the best game.
Hello and welcome to episode 36 of the Rink Moose Hockey Podcast, a weekly episodic podcast where two good pals get together and discuss all things NHL and their implications in fantasy hockey. I'm one of your hosts, Nick Costu, along with my good pal, Kyle Nice. Kyle, how are you doing on this fine playoff evening?
Boy, Nick, you sound like $1 million today.
I'll tell you what, I feel not like $1 million.
Is that because St. Louis is losing 2-0 right now?
No. I mean,
boy!
you made a pretty good prediction last week when you said this playoff schedule combined with our lives right now would be a pretty hellacious, would make for a pretty hellacious week or two. And this is just about the middle, like I just came over the hump, and I feel distraught right now.
Oh my God, distraught?
I can barely
really?
get around my apartment without stumbling into a wall.
Oh my God, you're really feeling it right now, eh?
It's terrible because you're watching these games till, these West Coast games till 1, 2 in the morning. And then you got to get up early the next day to study, and it just day after day after day after day, it drains you.
Well, listen, Nick, I got to be honest with you. I think what we've learned here, what I've learned, is you got to be selective on what you watch. Like, I don't think you can go out and watch the West Coast games every night. Like when I did that Colorado game, the Cale Makar debut, I was a zombie the next day. I was like, give me the coffee or I'm going home. Like, it was not a good scenario. So then, like last night, I didn't watch the whole thing. You're darn right I wanted to. I wanted to watch that overtime, but guess what? I just wasn't it wasn't happening. So as much as we want to have a good, well-rounded opinion on all these series, it's really tough. And I think we're just going to have to settle for getting our knowledge from outside sources. But
I don't even know how the pros do it. Like how do the Craig Buttons at TSN do it? Is he just sitting beside a TV with 5 games going on simultaneously and his eyes can just watch all of them?
Well, here's the thing, Nick. Here's the thing. You said it yourself. Pros. So it's their job. They can go into work and get paid to just study up on these games and watch tape. Like we actually have lives to live first, and then we do this. All
right.
That's why
fair.
we got to put in the
that's
extra
as simple
time
as it
on the
gets,
side. Exactly. Yeah. Until they pay us to start doling out Rink Moose info, then
right.
We'll never be quite as Craig Button as Craig. We'll never be Craigs.
No, never.
So why don't we start with some non-playoff news? The draft lottery, it's been a while, folks. It has. The draft lottery ran on the 9th, just before playoffs started, about a week ago. And, boy, what a debacle that was. Absolute debacle. So there I am, on Twitter, as usual. Hockey Twitter's a beautiful place. And I'm getting ready to watch these general managers in this room who are just sweating and looking bored. And what do you see is Twitter starts blowing up. They've leaked it. The 3 winners of the draft lottery are these guys. It turns out, and I told Nick, I think I know what's going to happen here. We're on the phone together. And wouldn't you know it, Sportsnet freaking leaked a TV broadcast graphic of the 3 winners about 10 minutes before they actually announced it. So the entire hockey world on Twitter knew about what was going on. And I pulled one over on my friends too. I said, "Boys, listen. I think these 3 teams are going to win." And when it happened, they were just like, "Holy shit, who do you know?" You know, I could have played it on longer and just been like, "Oh yeah, Bob McKenzie just been texting me." But no, I was weak and I said, "Listen, yeah, they leaked it." So that was a debacle all around. But Nick, the winners, there were New Jersey number 1, Rangers 2, Chicago 3. What do you think of this? And furthermore, the Taylor Hall curse, or should I say anti-curse?
What is that? 5 of 9?
I don't know.
Something ridiculous like that.
Something like it's so astronomical. Like some guys ran the numbers and did the odds for Taylor Hall's like getting this many first overall picks, sorry. It's something like 0.00003. It's astronomical what the phenomenon this is. It's unreal.
Yeah, I mean, it is a phenomenon, but all in all, I think I just saw it as the teams that needed it got it. I mean, to me, New Jersey was one of those teams that they just need it. They need a guy who can draw fans, who can get people to the arena, someone explosive who can take them off their seats.
Come on.
And I'm sorry, Nico Hischier is not that guy.
What about
He's
Taylor
not.
Hall reigning?
We don't know how
MVP
long
winner?
Taylor Hall's going to be there. I would have gone out and said if they didn't win this thing, he wasn't going to re-sign. He's only got a year left on the deal. I don't see that team, percolating in any positive direction. To me, it just seemed like he was stagnant. The team was stagnant, and now they got something. They train together over the summer, which is crazy. That blew my mind.
Who does?
I mean, instantaneously, there's a connection between Taylor Hall and
Jack
and Jackie Hughes. Yeah. So there's that. There's also a connection. The GM of the Devils. What's his face?
Ray Shero, I think.
Ray Shero. He was the agent of Hughes's dad when he was a player.
Oh, please.
So there's this familial connection, which is why a lot of people are saying they're for sure taking him and not Kakko. So if don't buy into those Kakko, rumors where he might go number 1. That's not happening. Sorry.
Right.
So I don't know. Like you look at all those different storylines. You look at the team that they just badly need another star. To me, it seemed like the right option. Next to the Kings, and I'm biased in that respect. This was a team that needed it. And then Rangers, obviously, they move up. They need prospects too. I know they got Zibanejad and that's about it. They traded for Lemieux, but he's a third liner. What else they got? Jimmy Vesey. He hasn't really broken out into the star we thought he'd be. To me, it just seemed like 2 teams that really needed it, and they're going to get Kaapo Kakko and Jack Hughes. So good on them.
There's a lot of outrage, actually, Nick, that some of these teams didn't need it, didn't deserve it as much as some other teams, like New Jersey. You can't make the case that they deserved it more because they won it already like 2 years ago. So they'll cancel them out. The Rangers, sure, maybe they needed it, and they did it in the honorable way, in that way where they told their fans, listen, we're going to do a rebuild. So I don't have a problem with that. Chicago, come on, man. This is crazy.
Yeah, that's the one that makes me shake my head.
They win the lottery. Come on.
But it's the third spot. They're not getting one of the 2 studs.
You know what? I would have liked to see, who deserves this? Is frickin' Buffalo. Give them. They've had nothing but shit.
Give me a fucking break. Don't get me started.
They had nothing but shit for their entire. Like, they don't deserve this. That fan base.
Buffalo doesn't deserve a pick.
You don't think Kelly's Corner doesn't deserve a pick?
They do. I'm just saying this is if there's been any team in the past 5 years that has embraced the art of tanking to any extent, it's Buffalo. Those people in front office are degenerates. who've been saying let's lose every night. That's unacceptable.
They
Unacceptable
tried to
at
win
that
this
level.
year.
They should not. No, they should not get good high draft picks for that very reason.
Well, you know what, Nick? Sometimes I just think people dwell at the bottom for too long. It's one of those teams. It's one of those teams who's just been at the bottom for like 10 years now, and there's been no hope in sight. At least Edmonton had a playoff run. At least Edmonton won McDavid. But Buffalo, boy, it's a tormented
they
franchise.
tanked for McDavid and it failed miserably.
Yes. And they won last year, so good on them, but I just don't like seeing Chicago in there. It bothers me.
Sure, yeah, it bothers me too, but it also bothers me when a team consistently wins first overall. And I don't want Buffalo becoming the new Edmonton.
Well, it looks like it's New Jersey now with the Taylor Hall. Who knows what's going to happen, but...
I mean, but like I said, Nico Hischier isn't in the tier of McDavid and Eichel and Dahlin, right? He's a step back.
He sucks.
Jury's out for who Jack Hughes is, whether he's in that Eichel tier or if he's in the Nico Hischier tier. We don't know, but they're going to get a chance, and that's good for them.
I think he's between Eichel and Hischier. I think he's in the middle. But let's not dwell on it too much, Nick. This is a playoff special anyways. We're going to take you through each series, folks, Rink Moose fans, and we're going to give you some, quick little headlines as well as how our thoughts have changed. You heard all of our predictions last time, and now, well, let's be honest, Nick, things haven't exactly gone as we had thought, or how the hockey world has thought. There's been some incredible upsets, and just unlikely scenarios. So we'll get to it, but let's start at the bottom of the interest scale. Nashville, Dallas. Nashville, Dallas. Now,
what do you have to say about this one, Kyle?
Well, actually, I was going to ask you. Here's all I know about this series. I've heard Dallas has been carrying the play, and I'm not going to pretend like I've watched a single game. Dallas has been carrying the play. Nashville has been helped by Pekka Rinne in a great deal to get them where they are. And just Victor Arvidsson hasn't done any scoring, and from what I can see, there might be some panic buttons in Nashville after getting spanked last night by Dallas. So it's not going at all how I thought, Nick. I thought this was going to be a cakewalk, but I mean, again, we've been shit on by some of our predictions here. We really torched that Dallas offense. And what I will say, here's what I do know: Miro Heiskanen has been an absolute beast on the back end. 19-year-old defenseman put up 27 minutes last game. They're absolutely leaning on this kid, and he has done nothing but deliver, shutting down that Nashville offense. So, yeah, kind of keeping an eye on this one from afar, but still very uninteresting to me. Very uninteresting.
Yeah, you nailed it with the Heiskanen. From the condensed games I've watched, he's been flying. He's emerged as the star. Another guy who I disrespected on Dallas and who has shown me a lot is young Rupert.
Oh!
Rupert Hintz. This guy has come out of nowhere.
Rupert.
he's come out of nowhere, and he's exciting. This guy can score. This guy can make. He can shoot. He's got size. He's playing with the big boys. I don't know where he came from, but he looks like he's fitted in just fine. Like he's a veteran on that, and I totally slept on him, and I don't know where he came from, but he's impressed me. A guy who hasn't never impressed me, but he's just having a great time for Nashville is Rocco Grimaldi.
Oh boy,
this guy's been scoring every game. This guy, if you got him in your fantasy pool, good on you. This guy isn't great. He's been one of their leading scorers. So, I mean, those are just some of the names that popped out to me in the brief segments I've seen: Heiskanen, Grimaldi, and Rupert. But Yeah, I mean, all in all, to me it seems like something that's a series that's going to be determined on the goaltenders, because both teams are going to defend extremely well. They're not going to give up much. It's going to come down to which goalie is the better goalie. And you saw it in Game 3. Bishop had an awful Game 3. He was letting in goals from terrible spots, just was not on his game. Dallas lost that game on home ice. And then just the other night, Rene gets pulled, letting 4 goals in on something like 9 shots. So, that to me has been the story. One goalie shows up one game, then the next goalie doesn't show up the other game. It's just been on and off. And I think that's why the series is 2-2. And now it's a best of 3, and it's going to come down to which goalie can be the better goalie. My money's still on Rene with the experience, and I'm still comfortable in that prediction. But we'll see. I mean, it seems like the parity between these two teams is just so darn close. It's awfully hard to pick one of these to be better than the other.
Yeah, fair enough. If it's worth anything, I'm gonna stick with Nashville.
Yeah,
but
and it's still a boring series. Like, I don't see why I should tune in. Like, these are still boring teams that don't give up a lot of offense. So I could probably see it going 7, and I'll probably tune in for the 7th game. But until then, it doesn't really interest me very much.
Now the next series is quite interesting indeed, Nick. And we've both got some horses in on this one. Winnipeg, St. Louis. So this is one of those curious series. It's tied 2-2, but neither team has a single home win, which is not what I expected. I'll admit, when Winnipeg went down 2-0, I wasn't super worried, but I was really worried about Binnington. Because I had known that, Winnipeg played a decent game and those are 2 close games, but Binnington had looked good to that point. I don't know if Binny scares me anymore, Nick. Because the last couple of games, and especially the last game, Winnipeg seems to have just solved the guy. And I know they're up 2-0 right now. The thing I'll come back to is top line versus top line. The Scheifele line in the last game was electrifying. Kyle Connor skating all over the place. Blake Wheeler. Those guys were unbelievable. Tell me, where has Ryan O'Reilly and company been? Where's Tarasenko been outside of the power play?
Nowhere.
5
O'Reilly
on 5?
had that squeaker past Hellebuck in Game 2 and nothing since.
Yeah, they've been invisible. It's a true. I mean, if they go down, there's going to be a lot of blame sent around. And oh my goodness, I don't know what the score is now, but I feel more and more confident as the games go on that Winnipeg is really gaining some traction here. And I made a tweet the other day because Patrick Laine has had a hell of a series, and I said, listen, if Laine gets on one of those runs that he's capable of, it's dangerous for St. Louis, because this guy can just snipe. And he's done that in Buffalo. My goodness. I thought this guy was hurt, but there's no way he's hurt. He's just taking bodies. Just stacking bodies. Has your confidence in St. Louis waned at all, Nick? Hey, you had him going to the conference final, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm not surprised by this result so far. I mean, I had this going 7. I knew it was going to be back and forth either way. And I'm not too surprised by the home splits. The reality is St. Louis was never a good home team the whole year. They were always better on the road. When they play at home, they'd get blown out at home. It happened many occasions. So they've always been the better road team. And we saw that in games 1 and 2, the way they shut down Winnipeg. And I'm not too surprised the way this has gone. And one other thing, I mean, every series, every game, both teams have led at some point, right? In Game 1 and Game 2 and Game 3, all the teams led at some point in that game. So again, it just goes to show you the parity between these two teams and how it really is a coin flip matchup. A lot of pundits are saying whoever gets out of the series are poised to make the Stanley Cup final just because they're just so darn good. So not too surprised by the result. I'm a little surprised at the lack of production by the top line, as you alluded to. Winnipeg, not surprised. Their top guys are producing. They're full of character. And how are you going to shut down Scheifele and Wheeler? It just doesn't happen. It can't happen.
Relentless effort.
And even guys who I was just shitting on, Kevin Hayes stepped up in game 3 and 4. He's got a goal tonight in their game 5. I mean, he's starting to show me why they acquired him, why was all over that deal. So things are starting to come into fruition with Winnipeg, and that's a positive, and they've got the momentum on their side, and they've got home ice. So if you're a Winnipeg fan, you should be feeling pretty good at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Now, what are your thoughts on Binnington? How's he been for you?
Oh, he's been amazing. He's been sensational.
Well, let's not say amazing.
Every game he's been off the charts.
No, Nick.
I'm shocked St.
Come on.
Louis is letting as many high quality chances as they are, because they have, despite the masterful pieces they have on defense, and yet he's stepping up and saving very high percentage scoring chances. He might have been, of these two goalies, Hellebuck and Binnington. Would you say Binnington's been tested more than Hellebuck? Would you say that?
Oh, sure.
Well, there you go. I mean, to me, he's not the reason this series is tied. He's doing everything in his power to keep him in this. And I mean, seldomly do I see. I mean, he had that one game 3, where he let 6 goals, and some of them were really odorous. But other than that, I think he's been great. He's held his team in games.
Isn't that more worrying to you that he's had to make all these high danger saves?
For sure, it wasn't what I was expecting. I didn't think they'd be letting 30 shots a game and they'd be high danger chances like this. But it goes to show you the team that Winnipeg is. And, I don't know what to think. It gives me more confidence in Binnington, that's for sure. But I just don't know if this is sustainable. Can you win the series asking this rookie to do all this for you every night? I didn't think they'd win this way. I thought they'd win by letting 20 shots against every game, and he'd let 1 or 2, and they'd win every game, and he'd just be average. I didn't think they'd win this series with him having to be the star. And the way it's looked right now, it's been the latter. And that's why I've been surprised.
All right. Are you good on that series? You want to move on?
Yeah. No, and one more thing, like it's a weird series because it's exciting because there's a lot of stars, passionate fan bases, close games, but at the same time, like I think you'd agree there hasn't really been a lot of room on the ice in that series. Like it's two stout defensive teams, maybe not the best paced hockey, maybe not the fastest pace, So that's kind of been the discouraging thing. That's what's kept me from watching all these games is the fact that I know it's just going to be really tightly contested defensively, and it's not going to be like the other series in the West.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, San Jose, Vegas. What surprises you more, Nick?
I mean, yeah, that's a great segue, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's been so much open ice, so many goals. It's been crazy.
Oh, tons. And then, all those goals, San Jose's defense is something we touched on earlier last week, and they've done nothing but let us down. They've done nothing but prove to us that the regular season Martin Jones / San Jose defense is trash. It's just so bad. I mean, it's like Kyle's prediction has been perfect.
What's Vegas, with the analytics? I thought the analytics said they were like the best defensive team.
Well, fuck, I guess. You know what, Pierre? Listen to what Pierre said. The quote. Do you remember his quote earlier? The NHL is not an analytics sport. It's a character sport. Right. And when playoffs comes around, people realize that. I mean, we've seen this playoffs, rule books go out the window. Tampa Bay's out. Pittsburgh doesn't get a single win. Tampa swept. There's no rules out here, Nick. It's the Wild West. It's just a lawless business, and Vegas is absolutely just flexing on these guys. And that Mark Stone line, Stastny, Pacioretty, they're playing the best hockey of their careers, and it's all happened at the same time. Fleury got a shutout last game, but he hasn't really had to be this Vezina caliber guy.
He hasn't been great. He has not been great.
No, he hasn't been like Fleury's winning the series. It's that line is just making magic. And Mark Stone, I think he's leading the playoffs in points. Man, if this guy's not a top 3 player in the league right now, like, he's doing incredible things. And we see Pacioretty. No one expected this. No one expected Pacioretty to be a playoff beast. But it's all happening at the same time, and it just looks like, you saw the blocked shots, and you sent me little things like, Kyle, this is why they'll win the series, because the character will shine through. Pavelski scoring with his face, Logan Couture's crazy blocked shot with his pelvis. I mean, these things are just, they're not being supported by, a full effort from everybody. Burns is getting walked on a regular basis. God knows the health of Karlsson. Probably not great. So, and I know Karlsson's been putting up some decent points at the same time, but man, he's been a moose defensively, an absolute moose.
He doesn't move the same way. He's got the playmaking is there. He like game 1 and game 2, I thought he was vintage Karlsson. I really did. And then the last 2 games, he's been invisible.
Right. Yeah, I don't see the resolve.
Yeah. It's interesting because I don't know whether to credit Vegas more or to shit on San Jose more. Like, where do I want to go here with this take?
Yeah.
Because I'm watching San Jose and it's the same fucking thing. It's they don't give up a lot of chances, but when they do, they're grade A chances, and the goalie's not there to help them. And he's been like pulled in 2 of these 4 games. Like, your starters pulled in 2 of 4 games. You're not going to win a series if that's happening. Okay? They're scoring in the first 30 seconds of every period. It's like he gets in the crease and they're already down 30 seconds in. It's like shinny. And that's no good. The defense, Justin Braun's been nowhere to be seen. Vlasic's injured. Karlsson's not been Karlsson. Burns is getting washed, as you mentioned. It's not there. The guys, they aren't producing. Ever since Pavelski took the puck to the face, he's been out of it. He's had to put on that shield on his face, and he's just not playing the same way. It's just been very, very disappointing from the San Jose side of things. And then for Vegas, you mentioned it with the top line. I mean, Pacioretty, for all you people in Montreal, and Pierre made this point, for all those people in Montreal who wrote off the trade and said Montreal's won the Suzuki trade, it's over. Sounds like they were a little premature, Kyle. You might be included in that boat. I don't know. But if anyone said Montreal won that deal, that was a little premature, because I'll tell you what, Pacioretty, you see those goals? He's going bar down, snipe, top corner on Jones. It's filthy, the goals he's scoring. So he hasn't really been skating well. You don't really notice him, but he's just scored really nice goals. And then Stone, he just adds so much on the penalty kill, power play. One thing I will say, Vegas, if I've noticed one thing so far this series, they have a shit power play. Like, it's fucking awful. Like, it sounds like they don't even have a formation. It's just, okay, the Marchessault line, you're the first unit. The Stone line, you're the second unit. Like, they don't have a first unit. It's weird. And they're not, they're terrible. Their power play is terrible. I chose this team to win the Stanley Cup. If I have any reservation about that, it's this power play. It really looks disturbing.
Wow.
But yeah, Stone's been great. He's in prime tryhard mode. You see it with the look on his face.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just going nuts after every goal, like he's just won the Stanley Cup. It's great. And yeah, that top line. I mean, the other night they must have had like something like 13 points between the 3 of them. So yeah, it's been a mix of shite San Jose and the Stars coming through on Vegas's part. And Game 5 goes tonight. I anticipate the Sharks will play their best game of the series and send it to Game 6.
Nick, come on, man. Don't do this.
I'm sorry, there's too much character on that team to lose the series on home ice and to lose 4 straight. You don't just win and then lose 4 straight. They're going to win tonight. DeBoer is going to get them ready. Tonight's going to be a very good effort. They're going to win the game. But they can't win in Vegas. They never win in Vegas. That place is like a hellhole for them, and I wouldn't be surprised if they just lose it in Game 6.
And they know that, and I think that it looks like too big of a mountain for them to climb at this point. Like they're looking at this series and going, are we really gonna win 2 more games in Vegas or 1 more? Like, there's no way we can win 4 games in a row here.
So you just
3
give up?
games.
Do you just give up in Game 5 when you realize that?
They're not gonna give up. I'm just saying they're looking around their room. It's beat down. They're looking at, how they got tossed the last game, and I don't see a strong resolve there with all the situational factors going on. I mean, it's not like there's just not a lot of hope going out there. I mean, they're looking down the road and they're seeing
that's
Mark
the hardest.
Stone.
That's the hardest place to win a game in San Jose, the Shark Tank.
Come on,
Those fans. That's been the loudest arena of the playoffs so far.
Completely disagree. It's New York.
What?
New York Islanders. Absolutely.
Shark Tank's been pretty loud.
Nick, did you watch any of those Islander games? The first
I
two?
did not.
I have never in my life heard a louder building. In my life. Maybe it's how the microphones were set up, but I have never heard a crowd like that in my life. In my entire life.
One last
Now
last
granted,
thing I'll
I didn't
say-
watch the San Jose games, so you didn't
Okay.
watch my games, I didn't watch your games.
Fair. But what I will say is, if this is a great Pierre quote, okay? In the playoffs, he says, if you ingrain these 3 qualities into the mind of your opponent, you've won the series. Have you heard of this, Kyle?
No.
Concern, doubt,
Okay. Oh my
and fear.
God. Come on.
He says slowly as the series goes on, you impart those 3 into the mind of your opponent. And if you ask me, San Jose's concerned. They're doubting themselves, but I don't know if they fear Vegas yet. So that's why I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt on Game 5 here.
Nick, I see all those things as the same damn thing. Like if you're concerned, then yes, you have doubts. If you're concerned, then you're probably scared. Like, that's so stupid. He's just like thinking of synonyms and making it sound better. Like, okay, here's 5 things: bad, horrible, awful. You need all those things. Like, shut the fuck up. He's just saying the same shit. But no, if you ask me, I think they have all those things. They have all 3 of those.
No, come on. Evander Kane fights Ryan Reeves. You're not scared.
I'd be scared.
Come on, you drop the gloves with Reeves, your team's not scared.
Listen.
Come on, Thornton's throwing out jabs. They're chirping each other. He's not scared.
That was a dirty play, by the way, by him. Bad look. Really bad karma. The hockey gods won't like this. One more thing I'll say. What we're going to see tonight, Nick, if Vegas has that championship mentality and the killer instinct to smell blood and finish this off, because they're fully capable of doing this. They have the skill. They have the momentum.
Of course.
Then I see them going to the finals. If Vegas fumbles this and it becomes 7 games, they're not going. Neither one of these teams is going to the finals.
Okay.
So this will be very telling for me personally. But let's move on.
Alrighty.
My favorite series of them all so far. Ready?
Of course.
Calgary, Colorado. Man. I think I was the only one in the entire bracket challenge, Nick, to pick the Colorado Avalanche to advance in this series. Now, where do we begin here? Game 1 got off to a rough start for Colorado. It was kind of looking like, yeah, this is kind of not looking good. But I'll tell you what, at Game 2, overtime in Calgary, the Nathan McKinnon snipe in overtime just started this roll. And then the series is going back to Colorado. And we figure out that Cale Makar has just finished up his NCAA career. He's going pro. He gets stuck in the Toronto Customs for like 5 hours or something. He signs his contract, rushes over to Denver, gets on the practice line. Sam Girard can't go. And we see Cale Makar in his first NHL game, Game 3. And boy, did it start off in a whirlwind. As soon as Makar steps on the ice, Nick, there was cheers. The crowd almost gave him a standing O for stepping onto the ice. And then from then on, it was the Nathan MacKinnon show took over. He scored 2 quick goals, and I was saying to myself, I have never, okay, not never, but it's been a long time since I've seen a player dominate a game like this. And then it happened, Nick. What we've been waiting for 2 years. Makar gets it up to MacKinnon there. MacKinnon enters the zone. Makar calls for the puck at the blue line. Does a little bit of a power forward move, little shimmy shake, pulls the puck back, and it goes 5-hole. And I was losing my shit. I'm sitting here in this basement, Nick, and I just want to pop off. But I can't because there's people sleeping. So here I am doing this freaking victory dance and punching these pillows, and I'm just going nuts. And apparently the stat is when Cale Makar scored that goal, the decibel meter did something crazy. Like the volume in that building was like standing behind a jet while it's taking off or something. Mm-hmm. It was something insane. But needless to say, as the game went on, just forget about the whole Cale Makar story. As the game went on, there hasn't been a more dominant game in this playoffs. This team could have scored 12 goals. They won 6-2, and Mike Smith was excellent. It wasn't even close. Calgary couldn't, it's like they weren't even breathing out there. It was an absolute, we're talking 2-on-1s every 5 minutes. This team looked like they were shot out of a freaking cannon, and they sort of carried that momentum into Game 4, where it was a lot closer. Obviously, it was the overtime, and Mikko Rantanen stepped up to play. But man, oh man, the storylines in this one: MacKinnon, Landeskog, Rantanen, absolutely stepping into their shoes and living up to the hype. The Gaudreau line, I haven't even seen Monahan out there, Nick, and I've watched most of this series. I've seen Gaudreau, and it's not in a good way. Whenever he gets the puck, it's like he's scared, he makes a quick move, and he's fumbled it. Like, this guy's not even making plays. I notice him with the puck, he's got it a decent amount, but he's fucking it up. He's scared out of his wits. And then you see guys like Matthew Tkachuk. Boy, he's a rat. I fucking hate Tkachuk. He started throwing blows at Landeskog late in the blowout game because they were getting crushed. And then what does he do next game? Doesn't fucking show up. He was trash. Their whole team was just I'm so confident in this Colorado series going 5 games. It's unbelievable. They have totally taken the air out of Calgary's sails here. The defense, Giordano's looked okay. Where's this depth we were all scared of? Because I'm telling you, Colorado, they're skating with purpose. They're skating for a reason here. They smell blood. This is the championship mentality. That MacKinnon got that overtime goal. They haven't looked back. And they had that come from behind victory in Game 4 too. So I have no worries about this team whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean you've obviously watched it much closer than I have, but just looking at the periphery, mm-hmm. I mean I don't know what to say. I don't know if I'm more impressed with Colorado or I'm more disappointed in Calgary. I think I'm more disappointed in Calgary. Just because I know what this Colorado team is about. I know when that top line is firing, they're as good as anybody. And the reality is Nathan MacKinnon has been the best player in the Stanley Cup playoffs, him and Mark Stone, respectively.
Yep.
And, not too surprised. Grubauer, he was trending well going into the series.
Oh.
Not too surprised on that front. Your boy Makar, things worked out great. Sammy Girard got injured. They didn't have to go 7D. They just had to do that little swap. They're both very similar players. That worked out. I mean, it's everything's worked on their end. And for me, it's just been more disappointment in Calgary, just because I hadn't watched this team much during the regular season. I had only heard how great they were, and obviously the top seed in the West, that's an honor. And to just be, pushed around like this, that 6-2 loss, having the Stars, your top line, just not show up. The childish anger you're seeing in Gaudreau, the lack of character.
Oh, huge.
The defense, how they're letting Colorado have all these odd man rushes and break up the ice extremely fast. I mean, it's like they're playing into Colorado's game and not how Calgary wants to play the game. Mm-hmm. And it's been surprising. If anything, I'm shocked Mike Smith's been their best player. I did not think 4 games in Mike Smith would be the best player on the Calgary Flames, but that's been the case. And if that's been the case, that's an awful thing for Calgary. Because the reality is your best player should be that top line. And it just they haven't been there. And it's like the theater's too big for them. And it's disappointing. It really is.
Now, I want to give a quick scouting report on Cale because obviously, I need to let the listeners know what I saw out there. Actually, the thing that impressed me the most, and you might be surprised to hear this, is his defensive play, Nick. Not even his offensive play, because I kind of expected that I was going to see that. I'll give you this. He's had some rookie moments out there. He's had some moments in his own end where he's kind of bobbled it, kind of lost it. You could tell a little bit of nervous energy made the puck, jump away from him a little bit. But he hasn't run into any sort of defensive troubles at all. When he's lost the puck, he just instantly throws his excellent skating on display, and he beats the guy to get the puck back. I don't think he's actually been on for a goal against in 2 games, Nick. And you're not nervous out there. Like me watching him, he's not a big guy by any means, and even when you see him with that holding his first goal puck, he looks like a tiny kid, like 190 pounds at the very, very, very maximum. Probably 180, but the guy does not make me worried whatsoever simply because he can move around the ice with incredible efficiency. And then even better, Nick, his pass from his D zone to his forward is probably the best on the team already. His passes are incredibly accurate. They're efficient and they're timed perfectly. Like when he passes to a forward, nobody's bobbling it because it's right on the tape. It's really fantastic to watch. But then I turn my focus offensively. Other than the goal, Nick, I haven't seen too much in terms of, his ability to get the shot towards the net. Like, he's taken a lot of shots from the point, and, they've been finding some shin pads. They've been going wide. They haven't really gotten through. So there's still some adjustments to be made in that sense. But the fact that they can trust him defensively, and he played over 20 minutes in that last game, Nick, it has been really impressive to me. So once he figures out the timing of getting the shots through and really flexing his skills offensively, then, boy, oh boy, this is going to be outstanding. But my last takeaway from the series is McKinnon, when he's playing like this, cannot be stopped. I don't know if there's a single team that can do it.
That's what Gordon Miller said, right? You heard the call. Great call. Where he goes, he's unstoppable. That was great.
Yeah. And I fall off my chair watching him. I don't know how to explain it. The power and the finesse. You know what someone said online? What is it? His shot is probably a top 5 shot in the entire NHL, and it's his third best quality,
right,
behind skating and hands. Like, isn't that like mind blowing? He's just such a dynamic force out there. I don't know how you can create a human being to act like this.
No, I don't know what food they're feeding those kids in Cole Harbour, or what hockey skills they're teaching them in pucks and pylons, but something to do with Cole Harbour, man. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, but we should move on. We've spent
like if you're a pro team, you got to be sending all your scouts to Cole Harbour. Am I right?
Oh yeah. Like Cole Harbour's like the Aurora of Nova Scotia. I think it's just like it's kind of a boring, like not a whole lot's going on, but it's like, holy shit, there's talent coming out of there. Just like that Kyle Neese guy coming out of Aurora.
Yeah.
You're gonna see him all summer and then tearing up the stat sheets
Right.
on
Right.
3-on-3. Well, but yeah, Grubauer. Did you see that save late in the last game, or was that overtime?
Yeah. It was. I think it was. Backlund. Am I right?
Yeah, it was back.
Yeah, he was right in front of the net.
Lifted
House
the
league
pad.
play. All he has to do is just raise the puck. Okay? No one's in front of you. Just raise the puck and your team wins game 4 and you're going back to Calgary 2-2. And he literally raises it 3 inches off the ice.
What a bitch.
Sorry, I'll give Grubauer a little more credit. Maybe 6 inches off the ice. And
Yeah.
Grubauer just has to lift his pad and he makes the game-saving stop. Good stuff.
Really good stuff. Well, we better move on. We've given enough love to that team. By the way, Nick, since the rules are out the window, I'm taking Colorado to the finals now.
It's Colorado, Vegas next round. You got Colorado?
Yep.
Wow.
I'm not afraid to say that anymore because of what we've seen so far with
Wow, I just can't see them beating Vegas, but
the
okay.
lunacy. But I mean, people said that about Calgary too. Calgary was the number 1 seed.
They're in a different class, different weight class. They
Yeah,
don't have Mark Stone.
so far, yeah, I agree.
You know, Mark Stone versus McKinnon. That's going to be a hell of a matchup.
Yeah. Well, Nick, Pittsburgh, New York Islanders.
You can talk about this one because I have just checked out.
This has been probably the most depressing series in the last 6 years for me. 6 years. As you know, I chose Pittsburgh to go to the final. I tabbed this playoffs as their last hurrah with this core group. And since game 1, Nick, there is not a single second that's gone by where I said Pittsburgh deserves the win here. They didn't deserve a single win in this series. If you're talking about the stars, you didn't see the effort. I mean, you saw Kessel kind of do his best out there, but we all know we're looking at, Crosby and Malkin at the end of the day to carry this team, that unbeatable center depth, the championship mentality. Nick, there was no championship mentality here. None to be found. Sid Crosby, he must be dealing with some sort of injury, man, because he was not skating right. It just wasn't out. And then Jake Gensel, he felt the impact of Crosby's lack of, I don't even know what to call it, man. Like, lack of skating. I was so frustrated. I'm looking at the screen. Give me something. Give me some sort of desire. This team looks like they're content with the past. They look like they have, we've won 2 times out of the last 3 years. We're good. We're done. We're looking at this team. They're tough to play against. They clog the neutral zone. There's no space out here, and we're not willing to fight through this. I mean, some people might look at Sullivan and question his decision making, but the effort's not there. Not on the back check, not deep in the zone. Leonard's been unbelievable. Don't get me wrong, but he's been beatable. You look at the other end of the pond. Jordan Eberle has never played this good since 09 WJC. This guy's wearing the hero pants again, Nick. It almost made me think, you know what? I'm happy for this team. They deserve it, and they're playing to win here. Barzal has looked at times incredible. I mean, the Eberle story is crazy because he was tabbed as this playoff no-show. He had like 14 games with the Oilers, had 2 points. He got 2 points in the first period of the first game in the series. So I'm super happy for him. And as much as I stuck by this Pittsburgh team to the end, they were uninspired. They really were. And I don't know what the future holds for this team. Whether they trade away some peripheral pieces or they just change their whole philosophy. But, I mean, I just don't know where this is going. But that's no that's not to take credit away from the Islanders, because they played their game perfectly. And they ran a tough series. They were physical when they needed to be. But they can skate, man. They can really skate out there. So, I mean, and I don't know. This team is poised to give either Washington or Carolina a hell of a lot of trouble. And I have a hard time betting against them in that series. So, yeah, hats off to New York, and Pittsburgh is just nothing but questions and disappointment for me.
Yeah, the Islanders tricked me. I watched that Leaf game, and I told you, and I went off on them last episode, and they've been getting it done. You know, maybe not the prettiest effort, but they've got it done. It's just a workman's effort.
Yeah.
And Eberle, as you mentioned, vintage Eberle. That's how I define him. He is. I mean, I got a great stat for you. You're gonna love this. Okay, I may have not watched much of the series, but I got a great stat.
Okay.
So there's the record in Islanders history, most games consecutively where you've scored a playoff goal. It's at 5 games. Okay, Eberle, he's at 4 because he scored in games 1, 2, 3, and 4. He's 1 away from tying the record in Islanders history.
Holy shit!
I'm
just thinking of all the amazing Islanders teams.
Do you know who holds the record?
I do not.
Raymond Ferraro.
No.
He scored 1 goal game 1, 1 goal game 2, 1 goal game 3, overtime winner in 4, and then he scored 4 goals in the 5th game.
That is mind-blowing.
He owns the record. Eberle's 1 away.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Goes to show you how great a series that kid has had. He's finally cemented his spot on that team. Thank God.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, Barzal's been Barzal. The shutdown fellows are shutting things down, and Leonard, he might not have been as pretty as Murray in this series. Like, Murray made some stellar saves. Like, he just looks great in net. Like, I love Murray, but Leonard, he's odd. He almost looks like he's not in the right position at times, but he still makes the save. And the reality is he was good enough in this series. You know, I don't think he's going to lead them, past another series, but he was great in this series. And kudos to him, and kudos to Trotz, and the game plan he drew up against this team, a team that he knows very well, and all those factors culminating to a win. And from the Pittsburgh end, I think, as much as you don't want to hear it, this is just a team they're at the end of the road. And
I don't want to hear that.
They've done everything they can. They have Malkin, they have Crosby, and all Jimmy Rutherford's going to do is he's going to trade away draft picks for players that could supplement them and play alongside them, and they're going to do their best to get B players to play around them, like Bukestads and McCann's, those kind of guys, and it just didn't work. It just didn't work.
And it was so promising leading up, because they had a good lead up to the playoffs, and guys like McCann and Bukestad looked great. Bukestad,
and then
really
the defensemen from Vancouver too, the Pedersons, those guys. Yeah,
Branson was decent. He was not bad.
I'm just saying. I feel like all those pieces they added were a little overrated. Like, it was a little okay, they might be playing a little better than they actually are. And then in this playoff series, you really saw, okay, this team's missing a lot.
And you know what? As much as I like Murray, I haven't had confidence in Murray for a long time. I think
he was great, though. He was great in the series.
I disagree. I mean,
he wasn't the reason they lost.
He was not the reason they lost, but there was times where I was like, steal one. Just steal a game. Like, can you? He did not make the. He didn't make the huge saves when he needed to. He made some big saves, but
to his defense, if Sid doesn't have a point in 4 games,
He had 1 point.
You know, how if I'm the goalie of that team, how do I have any confidence the team in front of me is going to get anything done?
You just have to trust. That's the thing.
I can't trust you when you haven't got a point in four games.
A championship goalie needs to be able to spark his team on his own and you know what he did? He never did that in this series. There was some decent saves, yes, but there was no time where we're like, wow, thank God for Matt Murray. No, we didn't have it. They needed that really. But honestly, Nick, I don't think that would have helped. I don't think anything was helping this Pittsburgh team out of this rut. Their mentality, it's like no buy-in, zero buy-in. Malkin, Crosby, I've never thought I'd see this. It's super disappointing. There was no way. Their spirit was busted from game one. It was unbelievable. So, we need to move on. Because I'm just going to storm out of this closet.
Mm-hmm.
Washington, Carolina.
Boring.
Right next to Dallas. I haven't watched a second. Highlights, sure. Here's the thing. This series is tied now, is it not?
Yeah, they won tonight. Carolina.
Yeah. I am super pumped to see Carolina actually take this to 7 games. I think this is going 7, and I think their defense is starting to show what they're capable of. And then, since that Ovechkin fight, I think this team, and I saw the advanced stats on this, Nick. Literally, since that Ovechkin fight, this team has been playing on another level. There's a lot of people that say there's no place for fighting in hockey, and that was a brutal play. And I hate how many replays it's getting. Everyone's posting that video. But this Carolina team responded. Big time. They saw this young Russian rookie take on his hero. Remember when I said in the pregame that Svechnikov is going to want to impress Ovi in a way? Well, this team has responded to his courage. And maybe it's stupid. Maybe he was an idiot for what he did, and I think he probably was, but this team has responded to that courage, and they've been really, really good since then. And I wrote them off after they went down 2 games. I wrote them off right away. But this team's awesome. And Ovi is a bitch.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. I don't even think it would have been fair to write them off after the 2, just because they were so close. I know they were down 3-0 in the first game, climbed back to make it 3-2. That was a close game. The second game, overtime winner. I mean, those are 2 tightly contested games. And then you finally go home, which Pierre Maguire, of all the places he's been at this playoff series, and he's been at a different place every night. He said that arena was the loudest rink of the entire playoff so far that he'd been to. So, shout out to the fans in Raleigh.
No.
Yeah, why not?
Okay, that he's been to.
And what?
That Pierre's been to. How many rinks has he been to? 2?
4?
No. Okay, yeah, 4.
Columbus, Tampa, Washington.
I think he's pumping
Raleigh.
Why in God's name should Raleigh be the loudest building?
Oh, apparently the fans are just loving it. Like the atmosphere there. He says the atmosphere there is more live than when they won the cup 10 years ago. So that's impressive.
Storm surge.
Hey, it's got to do with the surge. You're right, and it's I mean, good for the fans. They've got 2 wins at home, which is great for them, and maybe that fight was a galvanizing moment for this team, and who knows what'll happen from here on out. I still like Washington. I had them going to the conference final, but I mean, we saw the defense. You're right. Mrazek in the other game, I know he got a shutout, but it was something like a 14 save shutout. He hardly had to break a sweat. So it was a team shutout. The defense is on, and you're getting scoring from all over the depth chart. I know Aho, he's gonna score, yeah, but you're getting guys like Fogle on the fourth line
Oh,
who are
yeah.
coming through too. He had 2 goals in their last game.
Warren!
So Warren Fogle, and
Friend of the
You're
show.
getting a whole team effort, and yeah, I mean that's ultimately why they're at where they are right now.
And you know what, Nick? I might be switching up my prediction here. I think I'm going to take Carolina just for the sheer the storyline of it all. I want them to move on. I don't want to see Washington win a round. Fuck it. Carolina, New York in the second round. Let's go.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Oh, there's something I forgot to say about the Colorado series. Sorry to bring it back. Sorry, no, I have to. Like I wrote this
better
down.
be relevant in some way.
So relevant. Colorado's put up 50 plus shots in 2 straight games.
Mm-hmm.
So
So much for that Calgary defense.
Yeah, if you didn't think the series was over before, it's over. It's over big time. It's over next game. Anyways, moving on. Shall we get into it? Tampa Bay,
Yeah,
Columbus.
only 2 left, 2 big ones.
Tampa Bay, Columbus.
What happened in this series, Kyle? I haven't been watching.
You have. Really?
Who's winning?
Oh,
Who's winning the
stop,
series?
Stop. You're such an ass. You're grasping for low-hanging fruits.
I'm genuinely curious. I haven't tuned in. Just hasn't impressed me. So what's the series? What 3-1 Tampa, 2-2? What are we looking at here?
Tampa's up 3-0.
Wow!
Yeah. No,
Wow!
everything has gone as planned, Nick. Vasilevsky's been
Wow.
excellent. Kucherov has been the best player. Stamkos has been timely on the power play. Hedman's been a rock back there. Unbelievable.
John Cooper's living up to Coach of the Year status.
Cooper has this strategy where he has a forward high by the defense, and he uses it to create offense. It's unbelievable. I never thought of this. It's
Wonderful.
Oh yeah.
What is this alternate universe we're spewing about?
Oh my god. I haven't even seen it like in the deepest parts of the internet, someone who chose Columbus on this bracket here. But man, oh man. The historic importance to this series has been monumental. You go from the best regular season team in the history of the league, most wins in the history of one single season. They didn't win a single game in the playoffs. Ousted by the last team to sneak in, this rowdy group of misfits, as we called them. A good roster who never quite found the consistency under a crazy coach. And some people, Nick, they're calling this a perfect storm. I've heard that word a lot, perfect storm. Yeah, Tampa Bay's so good. The stars had to align for Columbus. I don't see it that way, Nick. I'm not seeing a perfect storm here. I saw this as a Columbus team who had a hell of a roster, and we talked about this. They've got, Norris caliber defense, Vezina caliber goaltending. They've got a lot of talent up front. I saw this as a team who came, they played together, they bought in, they played real playoff hockey, and Tampa Bay was stunned by this fact. They thought they were going to come in here, walk all over the series. Cooper was probably like, yeah, don't go too hard out there, boys. Got to save yourselves for the finals in game 1. And they're just like, holy shit, John, you didn't tell us this. Like, I wonder what kind of preparation they did for this series. Did they sit down in the video room, Nick? Did they draw up their X's and O's? Did they single out certain guys on Columbus, or did they just say, "Yep, just play your game, boys. Play your game like you've been playing all year"? I'm willing to wager they underestimated their opponent in this series, Nick. And man, Columbus, they can take it to you physically. I mean, like Josh Anderson, he's a fucking truck out there. Dubois had such an excellent final game. Panarin and Duchesne are just, they showed more skill than Kucherov out there. Kucherov was a friggin' no-show. Not to mention he looked like a whiny little brat. He took that bad penalty. man, this is a black eye on such a legendary organization this year. It's a huge black mark. They did almost everything wrong. In a way, it was the perfect storm for so many things to go wrong for Tampa Bay. But and it's their own fault. But we cannot discredit what Columbus has done here, because they look incredibly dangerous. And I'm willing to say it right now. Columbus is going straight to the East Final. I don't care who wins, Toronto or Boston. They're not touching Columbus in a 7-game series. Not a chance. This team is too well-rounded. Fucking love Columbus.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised they swept Tampa. Of course, I'm surprised.
Oh, of
but
course.
the team itself is. I mean, a few weeks ago, I said I thought this team was the best team in the Metro on paper. This is the best team in the Metropolitan Division, and they just happened to get a bad matchup. But it ended up being a great matchup. It was a veteran, grizzled coach against the fresh face who doesn't know how to make adjustments. And I mean, I'm just going off Pierre here, but apparently Tortorella implemented this aggressive forecheck where they would just destroy Tampa, and we saw that with them injuring Hedman. We saw them implement a 1-2-2 defensive structure that Tampa just couldn't get by when they'd cough up the lead every game. It just frustrated them. And we saw that frustration take place with Hedman and the shitty chirps of Columbus at the end of Game 2 when he knew he wasn't going to play another game the rest of the series.
Brutal.
Or the Kucherov uncharacteristic hit where he just took out that one player along the boards with his body, got suspended a game, costed his team Game 3 in my mind. John Cooper not being overly draconian on the bench, not showing any emotion until it was too late in Game 4 when he won the challenge, but unfortunately too late at that point.
Yeah, way too late. Jesus.
I mean, a team that just looked like the theater was too big for them. And I told you this going in. Tampa Bay didn't have a single player who'd won a cup. No cup winners on that team.
Wow.
And they got taken to school by a veteran coach who had won a cup with Tampa Bay, I may say, and John Tortorella. And the whole team took him to school. He drew up a great game plan. We saw the heroic speech at the start of Game 1, and they just rode that the whole way. It's a great story. I'm sure everyone must have been thrilled with the result. And now question marks to see what they do in Tampa. They're not going to be able to hold on to everyone, given the cap. Who stays, who goes? That transcends from the players to the coaching staff. What's the future of John Cooper? I know there was a lot of people praying he'd get fired, but I got news for you all, and I sent this to Kyle today. This was Julien Brisebois, the GM, another lawyer. He said, quote, "If I hadn't re-signed Coop when I did, I would be doing it right now. There's no sense in looking for the next Coop when I have the original."
Wow. Big words. Huge words. Dramatic words.
Lawyer talk.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't too surprised to see this. I know the owner there, Jeff Winnick. He's the kind of guy who wouldn't make a hasty decision after 6 bad days in April. You know, he'd see the 62 wins. He just wouldn't overreact like that. He'd debrief, he'd take a deep breath, and realize he's got a star and a coach. And Brisebois, I think they're just boys. The two of them, Cooper and Brisebois. You know, I hear all the time they get chicken wings and beer together on a usual basis. They get into chicken wing eating competitions.
Oh my god!
At shout out to Hatricks, the great chicken wing bar in Tampa. If you've never been, best wings in North America.
Shut your face! Shut up!
So they're boys, and so I wasn't too surprised to read this, but I'm sure Kyle and many others were in great dismay to read that.
By the way, folks, I gotta say this. Nick spent about an hour the other day going online to me about how Cooper's an idiot and he went to the worst law
He's a
school
fraud.
in America. I feel like you had this picture of him as a well-studied lawyer, and then you went off on this chat. You're just like, Cooper's an idiot. He's an idiot. Look how stupid he is. You were so excited to show me that Cooper's school was like rated the worst in the entire United States.
Yeah. So John Cooper went to the shittiest law school in the entire country. And that's a lot of law schools. That's like 200. This guy went to the shittiest school in the whole country. You don't even have to. You just have to write the LSAT to get in. Doesn't matter what your score is. You just have to write the thing.
Wow.
And it's some place in Michigan where the people who graduate from there don't even get hired because the degree just means nothing. And I listened to all his press conferences after the games, and he just didn't. It was funny seeing the reaction and how it changed, right? Like at the end of game 1, he's joking around, he's poking fun at the news people who are there. He's a jokester mood. Game 2, he gives the famous 5 a.m. alarm fire.
5 alarm fire.
5 alarm fire.
Love
That's
it.
when things, maybe doubt started to seep in there. And then after game 3, there was no laughter. No joking from John Cooper. He was just sitting there, concerned as fuck, and you saw it all come into fruition in Game 4. So, it was just a lot of mumbling from the mic, lots of I don't know, like a lot of just like indecisiveness. He just you could see his confidence shatter day by day. So. Yeah, really something for all you John Cooper haters out there. I'm sure you must have loved this week.
I'm sure your perception of him has really been altered from this.
It really has. I don't think he's. I think he's a dummy.
Wow.
I used to think he was the fucking smartest guy in the world, and now I'm like, oh man, like I've done some investigative journalism, and now it's all coming full circle.
So we got to give a bit more credit to Jonathan Drouin now. Maybe Coop was pulling all the wrong strings there.
I'm just saying he got out-coached by a mile. Like,
huge.
Didn't make any adjustments. That's what everyone's saying. Like, everyone's saying, like, he just didn't react until it was too late. He made one adjustment in Game 4. He put Cirelli with Kucherov and Stamkos. And it was an amazing line in Game 4. But he didn't do that until Game 4. And he didn't react appropriately. And that's where a lot of people are saying the coaching staff let the team down.
And I think this goes back into him and the team just being overconfident in what they had achieved to that point. They didn't adjust to their opponent. They said, we're going to play our game. Even when they were down 2 games, and he said 5 alarm fire, not much actually changed. In Game 3, he still said, oh yeah, we're going to trust our system. But guess what? It betrayed you all the way to the end. And you know what, Nick? I'll never forget. For the rest of my days, Tampa Bay went up like 2-0 early in Game 1, very early. 3-0, exactly.
3-0, and they came very close to making it 4 on a great save by Bobrovsky.
So I took and Bobrovsky looked shaken in that first period, and I took to Twitter, and what was everyone saying? Of course. He goes, they're all saying, Tampa in 3, ha, 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 look at this, it's already happening, or Tampa Bay with the eyeballs. Like, people were ripping Columbus to shreds, and I'll never forget some of these tweets, because it's just total, since that speech, obviously the speech, everything just flipped, and it never went back. So, again, it's a historic moment in sports history. I don't know if we appreciate it enough how this just doesn't happen in sports, and we've seen history. We've seen an amazing thing happen, and I'm super happy about it. I'm super pumped for this Columbus team. And down with Tampa. Down with them. I hope they don't make the playoffs next year. I hope they see nothing but failure. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. No, it's historic. You're right. Like, there's been people saying the comparing this to upsets in like the 80s and the 90s. You know, like the great miracle on Manchester, the moment I told you about in the 80s when the LA Kings upset the Gretzky Oilers, and they came back from a 5-goal deficit to win the game. And they came back from a 5-goal deficit to win a game, and they ended up winning the series in the 80s. Or Pierre compared it to the 90s. When they asked Pierre if this was the greatest upset in NHL history, he said, no, it was the 90s when the Sharks upset the Red Wings. I think it was like 96 or something. But yeah, I mean,
Sure.
it's up there. And the fact we're even having that conversation, that it might be the greatest upset in NHL history, I think speaks volumes.
So Toronto, Boston. This has been not really what I expected, Nick. I guess I expected Boston to be a bit more dominant. I mean, when we came into this series, there was unbelievable amounts of questions about Toronto and their goaltending and this and that. But what's been pretty interesting is, for the most part, their defense has actually held up a lot better than I thought. Freddie hasn't really been the problem. It's just been two good teams, just duking it out. And some games, Boston's physicality has taken the game to a place where Toronto can't go. But, for the most part, these two teams have been pretty darn even. I mean, you saw Toronto in the second game really show their will. And you've seen, incredibly, the Bergeron line held mostly in check. You might discount last game. You might take that out of the equation. But you know what? All credit to Tavares and what the job he's been able to do against Bergeron. And obviously the heroics of Mitch Marner. And, Matthews has picked up a little bit of a scoring touch. Nylander's been a bit of a dunce, but, can't have everything. And then you get over the Kadri-DeBrusk drama. And boy, oh boy, was that got scary to me, Nick. It's just like, when does a ref do their job? It's just like two guys who are getting more and more angry with each other with each passing shift. You see DeBrusk stick his knee out on Kadri and with intent to injure, definitely there. And then the final straw was Marlowe gets hit into the stanchion and Kadri snaps, loses his head a little bit, and then, pulls that stupid move. So, it's not at all going how I thought, but to me, it's really hard for me to choose who I think the winner of this series will be, because, it's like a seesaw. It's like a seesaw battle. You see it more from Toronto one game, and then the Bergeron line makes a comeback, and then someone surprises you again on the other end. So it's hard for me to judge this one, Nick. It really is.
I'm the opposite. I'm not surprised at all.
Wow.
I saw this going 7. I thought this would be the tightest series of the bunch. And, to no one's surprise, Game 1, Toronto gets the edge. Game 2, Boston gets the edge. Game 3, Toronto gets the edge. Game 4, back to Boston. It's just been back and forth. And, not very surprised. And it seems the team that has the gameplay into their game style in that particular game has been victorious. I mean, we saw Game 1, more of a speed game, at TD Garden. And Toronto got the huge Game 1 win, but then Game 2 was all about the Broad Street Bullies. And they may not be in Philadelphia, but in Boston, they were the bullies that night. And they imposed their muscle. And we saw Kadri lose his shit when no one else on Toronto was willing to do it. Even Gauthier, you saw his silly... He was getting bullied for a 7-footer. Did you see that?
I did.
Where he got called for the penalty, and it was basically like, the referee saying, all right, you got to go to the penalty box. Like, it was just like out of character for the Leafs to be reacting that way. And it was just an odd game where Boston got the edge, and obviously Kadri got the suspension. And then Game 3, back to what Toronto was known for, more of a speed game. And then last night was kind of the weird one, because I wouldn't really say Boston asserted their authority or their strength in any way, but they ended up getting the win just from a really hot start, with their stars stepping up finally for the first time since the Game 2, and they were silent in Game 3. Pasternak went off, which was great to see for him. Marchand was Marchand. Bergeron was Bergeron. And despite the comeback from the Leafs and their valiant efforts, I mean, the thing was sealed and dealed after 2 periods, in my opinion, despite their comeback effort. So, it's going to be interesting. 3 games left. I see this still going 7. I expect this still to be a seesaw matchup. And I think, yet again, it's going to come down to which first line gets the edge, because it's been, Tavares has been great one game, but then Bergeron's great the next game. Or Rask is great one game, and then Anderson's great the next game. So it's going to be goaltending and which first line steps up. And that, to me, is going to be what defines this series.
What's interesting? Now, tell me if you think I'm wrong in this, but I don't think we've seen the very best of each team yet.
No, I mean, I think it's fair to say Matthews hasn't gone off. I think he's got a couple goals, but he's still, lots of criticism. He was under a lot of fire in Game 2, so he still can show a lot. I don't know about Boston. I mean, other than that first line, who are you waiting to break out? To me, there's not really anyone who I'm waiting to break out. On the Leafs, there's Nylander who could break out any second. There's Matthews who can break out any second. A Kapanen and Janssen. There seems to be more like sleeping tigers on the Leafs who are ready to break out than Boston, where I see they've shown their cards already. So maybe that gives the edge to the Leafs when you draw it up like that.
I think it does. They're sitting on a lot of potential. But the question is, does that wake up? I mean, Kapanen just hasn't been the same since his injury. He hasn't shown the same kind of vigor, And I mean, I know Matthews got a couple goals the other day, and he's been putting the puck in the net, but he hasn't been his best either, And I think Tavares has played his role to a T. Obviously, Marner has shown us more than we ever thought he could have. Not only is he setting up offensively, but those blocks, what a historic, what a heroic moment. Like, it was just like, put the C on this guy. Screw Austin. Are you serious?
Right.
Like, and this guy's
Matthews is never doing that for you.
No. To be honest, Matthews, this is why, Nick, I've had trouble in the past with this team. Guys like Matthews and Nylander, they just seem like princesses to me, and that they're not willing to. They think they're too good to make plays like that. Like Marner's shown me that he'll do anything to win. Tavares has adjusted his game. He'll do anything to win. I have full faith in Riley, but I still have yet to see a full buy-in from this team. Like, Columbus had a full buy-in. The Islanders had a full buy-in. Right now, Colorado is on full buy-in mode. What does that look like for the Leafs? It could be a beautiful, harmonious act, but is it ever going to come? And I think they're going to need that against Boston here, because I think Boston can more easily reach their full potential than Toronto, but I think Toronto's full potential is a lot higher. So that's why it's tough for me to come into this and make a prediction from here on out. And the reason I said I was surprised is because I came in thinking Toronto's going to get walked on. Like, I was in the O-Dog camp, and I know my prediction was Boston in 7, but for the most part, I was in the O-Dog camp. I was thinking 5 games here. I had no faith in this team, but there's been characters who have stepped up, and they're starting to win me over a little bit. But there's a hell of a lot of track to run still, so it's going to be tough.
And even like the great Jack Edwards on Nesson, the Boston commentator, he said on the Tim and Sid show, he said this team, the Leafs, have learned how to keep a lead. They're different. There's something about them that's different than the team that we crushed last year.
Crushed. I don't know about crushed.
Yeah, he'll maintain it was a crushing defeat, and he's worried. For him to say that this team has learned how to keep a lead, that Babcock has found a way to get his message through. What Tavares has added on that top line to neutralize Bergeron, it's an added element. Hell, Muzzin, we haven't talked about him. He's been great.
Yes,
and he's finally imposing what he learned in LA on this young Toronto squad, and I'm loving every second of it. So those are the key. What's that?
LA wisdom.
LA wisdom. It's rubbing off on the Leafs, and I love it. Wow. So all those factors has had me thinking, you know what, the Leafs can do this, which is something I couldn't tell myself, as we talked about on the show a week ago. So the fact they've now put that, ingrained that in my mind, I'm a believer they might actually be able to do this.
Wow. You know, there's only two teams who have yet to win a playoff series since the lockout. The Florida Panthers and the Toronto Maple Leafs. These are the only two teams now.
Wow.
Now that Columbus has done it. So there's big things to come if they do get by. But that's all I got for Toronto, Nick. And that's all the series.
I guess that's the cliffhanger. We'll leave everyone on.
Yeah. Stay tuned, folks. We're at an hour 25 here, so we went a little longer than I thought, as usual, Nick. As usual. But good episode. Good to check in.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't want to check in with all the fans at the end of the series because obviously a lot would have transpired. And a lot had happened to this point in the short, 7, 8, 9 day span it's been since we did the last episode. But there has been a lot to talk about. It's been a historic playoffs, a playoffs that I've enjoyed despite my lack of sleep. But yeah, I mean, I hope everyone else has enjoyed it. And until next time, we'll have a lot to talk about when all these series wrap up.
Yeah, and don't look now, but Jets up 2-1 with 7 minutes to go. So that looks
Huge.
like a hell of a finish.
Huge game. Whoever wins that game's winning the series.
I totally agree. Because you can't just win 2 games.
You can't lose Game 5. Like, losing Game 5, your morale is just into the pits.
No. And Jets are home, I believe, right now, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So this is going to be a hell of a 7 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
all right. Well, with that said, I think I want to get to watching that. So with all due respect, Kyle, I think this has to end. And until next time, when we recap the end of the first round, Rink Moose is signing off.